Hey, hello and welcome. My name is Mistina and you are watching Swaziland, the occasional dose of my reviews, reactions and opinions. Today, I'm not going to react to the latest chapter of One Piece because I already have, but I'm going to reveal what are my favorite chapters of the year. I have 8 chapters of them. I have read through all of the chapters and I had to really think about it because there are some really cool chapters. Most of the chapters were in the flashback and most of my favorite chapters were in the flashback too. So there are actually only 2 chapters of my favorite chapters of this year which weren't in the flashback, but that's kind of obvious because, as I mentioned before, most of the chapters were in like that. And I think why not just start with the list, and I hope you enjoy that too. Tell me about your opinions on your favorite top 3 chapters. Give it to me in the comments. What are your top 3 chapters and why? I mean, everyone has their differences and opinions. Why this chapter, why that chapter? And you know, rereading these chapters, I kind of can reevaluate them, sort of, but not all of them. I mean, I knew what was my favorite chapter the moment I started reading almost, so it was really a no-brainer. And it is the 31st of December, so it is time to party as well. If you do it, enjoy it. Okay, let's get into it. I have some help with my small little notebooks here because my brain isn't exactly functioning in late December. No, it's not true. It's just, it helps me. These notes help me. Anyways, in the 8th place, I have chapter 1139, which is a non-flashback chapter yet. And it's called The Mountain Eater. This chapter is basically about Luffy, Nami, Zoro, and Rolo's exploration of the Quest Castle, and it is the second half of it, to be precise. They are looking for everything, and here is this, here is that, this is the throne room, what happened here, and Rolo is really afraid of ghosts, and they meet Yasan, whom we know is actually Gyaban. And it's good because it is revealed at the end of the chapter. So this whole chapter is really about the interaction of Nami, the original crew, so to speak, Nami, Zoro, Luffy, Rolo, and Yasan, their reactions and their interactions basically. And then we have Yasan added to the group and their reactions as well. We have a Roger flashback as well, and also back in the village where the party is, the rest of the crew, including Usopp and Jinbei and Brook, they get to know, and Chopper, I think Chopper too, that they get to know the revelation that who Yasan actually is. And it was really fun. I mean, Yasan's character really, I really like the comment that Luffy and probably Oda made, that Sanji will be like that when he gets older. And it was very cool to see Gyaban, and that he is the father of Gon and the unofficial husband of Ripley as well. It just made sense, and it was fun, and I really loved the interactions between the characters. And what I love the most about this whole situation and thing is that, well, how should I put it? It was old style One Piece, exploration, flashback, character interactions. These are the things I miss the most in One Piece in recent years, and I miss this really in on Wano and on Egghead as well. Especially, in these last few years, we didn't really have the chance to see them exploring and being themselves and interacting with each other. I can't really, I'm going in circles, but you know what I mean, right? So I enjoyed this chapter a lot, and I thought that this might not be the greatest chapter of all of One Piece, especially in 2025, where we had really a lot of great chapters, and it was really very hard and difficult pick for me to pick only 8 chapters. And I almost got rid of this chapter, but you know what? This chapter deserves to be in the best chapters of the year because it's so One Piece-y. I just loved it. On the 7th place, we have chapter 1168, so quite a recent chapter. It's the penultimate chapter of the year, actually, Above Snow. In this chapter, what happens is that, at the beginning of the chapter, everyone is cheering because the giants are being accepted by the world. And they are like, hey, the giants ain't so bad. We can trade with them. They are strong. They are reliable. They are working together with the Navy, etc., etc. So things are looking quite good. The school is going on as well. Saul has really put his soul into it. So it was pretty awesome to see that the giant school is really actually working. And we get to see that, Harold is like, yeah, we are going to join the world government and it's going to be awesome. It's just one step away. And, everyone is cheering for him because everyone thinks that this is the right move. And, everyone is filled with optimism. And we know what is about to happen as readers. So it's like very, very bittersweet. And then, as we move on, we get to see Ida's death as well, because last chapter it was like, yeah, she might be dying and she might be dead too. But this is the chapter when she actually died. And I didn't have the chapter because the last chapter actually, 1167, got a very, very high rating for me too. And Loki just releasing all his anger on alcohol, which was really something. But I think that this chapter deserves so much more because not only we get to see Ida's and Harold's last moments together, and it's like Harold is like, you know what, now we can go back to adventuring and it will be like, oh, time's good for us. And Ida is like, yeah, that will be kind of cool, I'm looking forward to it. And she can't and she won't, and Harold remains alone. It would have been great if Harold could have actually married her the second time. I mean, after Loki was born and after his first wife died, so to speak. It would have been better if they got actually married, because Ida could have helped him even more. And it was so sad to see her go and to see their dreams just not to be fulfilling. And she said that love your culture, and what, you should be proud of your warriors' pride and everything. I mean, you shouldn't erase everything related to giants. I mean, this is what makes you special. If you erase that, you will be as ordinary as anyone else. I mean, it's a really good social commentary, and I love that too. And there is also the fact that Shanks has gone missing and from the Holy Land, and Harold gets to be the Holy Knight, and he gets superpowers, and he gets to meet Emu, and he's very excited, and he's shocked as well that there is someone who is sitting on the empty throne, although the legend has it that nobody sits there because they think of themselves as equals. This should have been a very warning signal for Harold, by the way, and it's for a smarter man, it would have been, or a smarter person, it would have been a signal that this is not good. But at the same time, there was no escape. If you see Emu once, there is no escape. Well, usually there is none. But Harold is like, okay, I'm a Holy Knight and everything is going according to plans. And he draws the circles, a pentagram, whatever, in his castle as well. And he's like, yay, we are about to join the world government. And Emu is ready to ask the last request, so to speak. Not the last, but it's like, I want all giants to fight for us, for me. And Harold is like, no, that wasn't my plan, sorry, no. And Harold was also like, I want a new king. I don't want myself to be king anymore. I want someone younger, wiser. And that was the part when Harold's heart and stomach and also mine has sunken a bit, and it's like, oh boy, here we go. And he summons Loki and Jarl, and they are ready to dive in, and that leads us to the last two chapters, 69 and 70. Yeah, I think this chapter was brilliant and very well put together, and it deserves a spot in the top chapters of the year. On the sixth place, we have chapter 1163 called Promises. I think this chapter was packed. I mean, we start off the chapter with Imu insane Saturn's body in his spider-like body, and Imu is like, I'm going to massacre everyone here, and is on a journey. And you know, there is Garp, there is Roger, and they are both interacting with their own crews, so to speak. So obviously Garp is talking to his Navy soldiers, and Roger is talking to his pirate crew. But you know, the similarities between these two are being drawn in this very chapter as well. I mean, there were many similarities. No wonder that Roger really trusted Garp. They were like, yeah. Anyways, it was good to see how they interact with their crews and how similar they were. I really like that fact. And also, Imu being really afraid of Davy Jones is like, whoa. You know, there was a revelation of him being related to Davy Jones, and that Davy Jones used to be a king, and he was like, no, he wasn't a king, sorry. But anyways, that's for a different part. Altogether, Rox starts to fight Imu. There are lots of good movements and interesting interactions, and also we get to see the usage of the magnet fruit and bomb fruit. I keep forgetting Mr. Five's fruit, devil fruit, but you know, there are things happening in the background as well, and we get to see how Dragon loses Baby Shanks, and Baby Shanks just walks right into a treasure chest and goes on to be, well, taken to Roger's ship as a treasure, which he certainly was. And I just speak a little bit. I really like Kaido's and Big Mom's interaction. It was so brilliant. I mean, Kaido and Big Mom together, they were really cool, and it was really funny, you know. It's like Kaido was like, you jealous? It was brilliant. I think great comedy in this chapter. So it was just fun to read and see them both interact, and it's so sad that they grew so apart from each other, and they didn't have the same dynamic, even though they met up in Wano a few years later, right? It was such a bad move. And also, there are two things I have to mention. One of them is the combo attack on Imu. Everyone is in this attack. It's Big Mom, it's Whitebeard, it's Kaido, it's Rox, it's Rogers, it's Garp, and they are all attacking him. Such a combo attack did not ever happen in One Piece, and it didn't do anything to Imu. It was brilliant. And you know, it was like, yeah, when all sides are together and you know, they fight together, they might have a chance, and they didn't have a chance. It was like shocking and brilliant at the same time. And also, you know, in the end, it was like threatening Aris and Teach, and you know, Zabak just had to step in, and this is when he gets caught and he starts turning into the Dominaverse demon that he is or was, basically. It was a great chapter. Why isn't it in the top 3? You know, I've keep asking myself, but that's because there are so many good chapters this year. But this chapter in particular, The Promises, it was truly something like, man, this is a great chapter. It was truly a great chapter, and this is why I like One Piece, and this is only the 6th place. On the 5th place, we have chapter 1156 called Idols. I love this chapter. I have to admit it, I loved it the minute I saw it and I read it. It was awesome. It starts off with a color spread about Luffy, Roger, and two right and left hands, including Gyaban, Rayleigh, Zoro, and Sanji, and you know, they are being compared. It was just good. Really a very good color spread, almost the best color spread in the year, I dare even say that. Yeah, it was the best, one of the best color spreads. And you know, there's the Rox color spread as well, but this is really truly a great start for the chapter. And you know, the chapter starts off with this, and then we get to see the introduction to the Kuja Pirates, including Gloriosa in her prime, Tritoma, and Shaki. Wow, I mean, such a strong introduction of them, and they are attacking Roger's ship, or was it vice versa? Well, anyways, it was good to see them all together, how they fight, how strong they were, and it wasn't just a myth. They were really overpowering everyone because they were beautiful, and Jackie still is, and it was really fun to see the Garth versus Roger, Rogers versus Cujas, and everyone versus everyone basically, and this part of the chapter was captivating for me, and I was really enchanted by the Kuja pirates as well. So this is why this deserves number 5 spot. But there's also more in this chapter. Ida is really standing up for Loki, and she said that just because he's like that, you shouldn't let him die in the sea, because he's ungrateful and everything. And Loki is like, you know what, I hate you all back. You hate me, it's okay. I hate you all back. I'm going out to the sea and I'm going to do my stuff, and then they won't hate me anymore, because Loki knows hate. He was hated throughout his life, and the only person who didn't show, well, maybe there were 2 people who didn't show hatred towards him, were Ida and Harold in the end, as you know, but mostly Ida. And she was like, come on Loki, let's drink, and etc, etc. It was really sad. And the end of the chapter was really about the pirate island, the Beehive, and how Rock's pirates made their place there, and we get to see their introductions as well. It was a fully packed chapter, and they were idols as well. I mean, Rocks were the idols of Loki, and the pirates of everyone, and the Kuja pirates for the beauty and strength as well. So it was a really good match between them, and I just love this chapter. I couldn't put it lower, despite the fact that the previous chapters I mentioned before, they were super great as well. But this chapter, it had really a charm. I cannot really put my finger on it, but it deserves a spot for sure. In the 4th place, we have a truly great chapter once again. I mean, I loved, as I mentioned before, I had so many good chapters this year that I really had to nitpick everything and pick out my personal favorites, because there were so many good chapters this year. But I think 1159th chapter of One Piece, which is called The Island of Destiny, definitely deserves the spot. Why? Well, first of all, the cover story here wasn't that bad. I mean, Yamato's cover story was mildly interesting. I mean, it was more interesting than Jinbe's cover story ever was, but still, it's like, but at least we get to see a happy page 1 and Alti with Yamato, and that was kind of fun. But the fun starts at the beginning of the chapter, when Shaki has been kidnapped, and the pirate island and the whole world just, they were stopped, like, what happened? This is awful. This was a great chapter to see how Shaki, how important Shaki was. She was truly the treasure of Pirate Island, basically. And I had to peek a bit. Oh yes, and Garling makes an appearance, and he's like, he goes back to God Valley, and his lover is there, and she's like, hey, these are the twins, Shanks and Shamrock. And he's like, oh, that's pretty neat, that's pretty cool, they look cool. And the girl is like, you know what, we could live here together, it would be nice. And here, not really, not with you anyways, I have a prized wife. I mean, he wanted to marry Shaki for sure, and it's like, no way, Jose. And he was like, no. And he killed Shanks and Shamrock's mother. Wow. I mean, that was cool. And and he was ordering around everyone, we have to prepare this island for the manhunt. And it was truly, it was truly terrifying, this whole scene. And also there were, people were also getting ready. We get to see a dragon appearance, which was also shocking, because I did not expect dragon to appear this year and do something this year, and it was nice to see him in action and how he started to doubt and hate the Navy in general. And we get to see Eva Chan and Ginny as well in action, that, you know, they were giving the intent to everyone that, you know what, if you want your treasure, if you want devil fruits, come to God Valley, because everything will be there. Brilliant, brilliant. And we got to see Morgans as well in his earlier years, and he also got the intel, and, you know, he's ready to write the stories and, you know, eventually become a media mogul and the king of the news, basically. I do have to cheat a bit, sorry. Everyone in the Vox Pirates, they want to save Shaky, and also not just them, but the Roger Pirates and that as well. So everyone is ready to fight, and everyone is gathering around. It is pretty amazing. And there is also a reveal. Harold and Rox meet up, and they have their last conversation together, and Rox reveals that his real name is David D. Rox. So his name is Davy. So he's from the Davy bloodline, which is very important. And he reveals to Harold that his home island is actually God Valley, and his wife and kid are there, and, you know, he has to go there. It's a coincidence, but he still has to go there. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, he has to go there. And he asks one last time for Harold's help, and Harold is like, you know, I can't do it. I just can't. And there is a fight between them, but, you know, you can interpret it in several ways. I think that Harold let him go because, you know, Harold had the mission to kill Rox, because that was his mission in order to join the world government, which he failed to do so. But yeah, he was like, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm not going to help you. And later on, it really frustrated Harold, but that's for a different chapter. In this chapter, you know, the last page was really, it's not really just one page, it's 2 pages together. So that was amazing. Terror, the horror, which is shown in the last picture. I think Shaky's figure, you know, she looks like, you know, she has pride in her face, but also fear, and you get to see Teach and Iris fear in their eyes, and it's really shocking, and it's really putting everything into perspective, and you know what is about to happen, because we got to see it through Kuma's flashback, but this is something even more amazing. And yeah, you get to see Dragon and Shamrock and everyone else, you know, in the last part of this chapter. So it's really a very, very powerful ending for a chapter. I really loved it. On our 3rd place, or my 3rd place, if you think about that, I have chapter 1164, Davy's Blood. I mean, it's pretty much self-explanatory. It's continuing the chapter of Promises, which was on place number 6. And this chapter starts off with, you know, Davy being, or Rox being pierced through by Emu. And he says that, well, you know what, Davy Jones was a king. And Emu's like, no, he wasn't a king. You don't know anything about it. And, you know, Rox is like, you shouldn't be afraid of a name. Are you afraid of Joy Boy? Are you afraid of Davy Jones or what? And he's like, no, I'm not afraid of anything. If you are dying, then that's the end of the line. And, you know, when your family dies too, that's the end of it. And I'm already happy. Yeah. And, of course, Emu is threatening Harold and the giants as well. And, you know, of course, desperation grows in Rox. And he's overrun by Emu's powers. And now he has to kill his family and then follow the orders of Emu. And everyone who stands in his way, he has to defeat them. And yeah, and he does that. He defeats Big Mom, he defeats Kaido, he clashes with Whitebeard with huge banners, huge stuff. I mean, it was pretty awesome to watch and really go through. It was amazing. And also, what power. And we get to see Dragon agonizing over losing the second baby Shanks as well. And he's like, I can't even save a baby. And, you know, he's all over it, which I can really truly appreciate, because Dragon as a character, we didn't know much about him. He was always the stoic character. He's like, looking east. I don't know where east is, but, you know, looking there. And he's like, things happen. I'll wait for my time. And, you know, he used to be young and he used to be like, I have to do something, and he couldn't do anything. And now we are waiting for him to do something, but what, when, and why? It's good to see him in such a position, you know. And what? And there is also Rox has found Iris and Teach, and, you know, he was about to kill her, and she was like, oh man, I wish they didn't get you, but what can we do? And she was like, okay, we are going to survive with Teach. And they were ready to jump off the cliff. But then again, the bombardment started from the Navy, I guess, and Rox was from behind. But there was Kuma, who managed, the last three people he saved was Aris, Teach, and himself. And, you know, Imu thought that the erasure of their presence was meant to symbolize their death, which was not the case. So it's like, okay, I take that. And it was good for Imu. So Kuma saves the day, and Roger and Garp, they are still on the island, and they are still trying to figure out what's going on, and they encounter Rox, and Rox is begging them through Haki or mind, power, whatever you want to call it, and he's begging them to kill him. And it's such a strong message, it's such a heart-wrenching situation. Brilliant. This chapter was brilliant. It was very hard to decide which would be the number one chapter of the year, but before number one, we get to see number two, the second best chapter of the year. Not only the second, but this was also a great chapter, so to speak, and it's actually the start of the flashback, or not the start of the flashback, but it is at the beginning of the flashback on Elbaf, and this is called the chapter 1155, the Rox Pirates. I mean, the introduction of the Rox Pirates, I expected interesting things from the flashback on Elbaf, but not the Rox Pirates. As I mentioned before, Kuja, neither the Kuja Pirates, neither, but this was amazing. And you know, it was like we get to see, you know, on the previous chapter we finished it off with Rox actually arriving, and we got to hear that he's actually the father of Teach. So it was a pretty big revelation. And at the beginning of the chapter is like, where is your dad? Your dad is Harold. Good, because I want to talk to him. And we get to see that he met Loki with his eyes open, and he didn't care, and so his rest of the crew didn't care that Loki had serpent-like eyes or whatever, and they were like, this kid is crying, and he's a giant too. And he really, well, not defeated Loki, but technically yes, he gave a hard time for Loki, and Loki was, you know, crying because of the fact that he couldn't even die, and he was pretty miserable at that time, and he found someone to look up to, and it seemed like the Rox was pretty strong, and he was like, you are strong, dude, I like that. And also Harold came home because he heard about Loki being injured, and he's like, you should be careful in the realm of that, Loki. He didn't know that the one who actually hurt him was Rox, but, you know, Loki didn't want to tell him, didn't bother to tell him, and Rox neither. I mean, it was amazing. And also, there was a rare sighting of Ganko in Imu's presence. I mean, this was a huge thing as well, because Ganko is becoming more and more of an interesting character. Ganko is a key character, and I'm really ready to find out all about Ganko. Oh my god, so interesting. And she knew Brooke, and Brooke her. It's amazing. But what is more amazing, and what really threw this chapter on the top, is none other than the meeting of Emu and Rox. Rox just walked into Emu's special flower room, and it's like, hi. And he knew he couldn't defeat Emu. It's like, you know what? I'll be back. Wow. Such power, such coolness. I mean, you can't get cooler than that. You always say that in One Piece, but you can. It's seriously, this was such a cool moment. For that alone, it deserves a top 3 spot for sure. But that's not all, because in the chapter we get to see how Harold and Zabek met, Rox met. They were both escaping from Marie-Joie, and they were both viewed as criminals, and they were like, yeah, Rox was like, you know what, let's meet again. And they clashed even, and it was really good to see them together. Awesome chapter, that's all I can say. And also, as Rox was telling Harold that, we should do this, and you could lead the giants, and we would be undefeatable, and this would be great and cool, whatever. And Loki is like, I like that. I want to defeat the world, even though he didn't know the world was actually Emu and whatever. But Loki found a new dream, and when this all came together, it was like awesome, pretty awesome. And as for the spot of number 1 chapter of 2025, I think it comes to no surprise to anyone. I hope, I guess. But for me, it was chapter 1138, a chapter not in the flashback, called Harley. I mean, yeah, it was a given. First of all, the chapter starts off with Loki versus Shamrock and Ganko, pretty cool fights, and we get to hear some info on Shanks, that he was the brother and Shamrock knows about him, etc., etc. So there were some very, very cool lore information at the beginning of the chapter. And also there's Shamrock's crazy Cerberus, what's that, sword kind of thing, pretty crazy weapon as well. And it was like, wow, pretty awesome. I mean, this is already a very, very huge start of a chapter. And then we get to see Luffy standing up for Shanks. Now, Shanks has not done all these things, and so it's like, yeah, Shanks couldn't do that. And Nami's like, yeah, you're so cute, Luffy, and that's fine. And so Luffy is really standing up for Shanks as well. And at the end of the chapter, Ripley is carrying Frankie like a toy robot, which is pretty cool. And she brings him to a place, sort of mural, a sort of old drawings, kid drawings. And this, what makes this mural special is that it's actually made in the Void Century, and it actually depicts the 3 words. And Robin is reading the Harley text as well, and she's reading through it, the text of the 3 words. And this is the end of the chapter. It does not sound amazing, but that painting, which remained untouched for 800, 900 years, it's like, dude, that's awesome, that's amazing. So many theories and so many things, like what happened in the past, what's going to happen in the future, how is this and how is that. Amazing. I keep using this word, amazing, but this is because I just feel like it's really, truly a spectacular year for One Piece, and this chapter in particular. I mean, this is one of the most important chapters in One Piece. Obviously not the most important one, but still, it's great. And it was at the beginning of the year, and even back then I knew that this is going to be very, very hard to beat, this chapter. I mean, lore, interesting facts, lore. It was a tough fight between these 8 chapters, but especially the top 5 chapters. They all deserve to be called best chapters of the year, for a good reason, for me at least. But you know what, I have some, if I go back in my notes, So there were many other chapters which reached a really, really high level. Really, I think the lowest rated chapter for me last year was the start of the year, actually, the first chapter of the year, chapter 1135, because it was like, yeah, it was something like that for me. But from then on, smooth sailing. I mean, everything, it was awesome, it was great, it was awesome. And even those chapters which were just, you know, in between chapters, so to speak, they were also pretty great and awesome. Once again, I said the word. Sorry, I just really love it, and I enjoy One Piece. Let me know what you have thought of this year's chapters. Hope you enjoyed this year with One Piece, and you enjoyed my reactions too. If you did, I hope that you continue to follow me as well. I intend to follow others too, because I'm interested in their opinions, and you know, One Piece really connects us, and I really love that, and I hope that we get to be in touch in the future as well. So I hope you have a really fun day today, as it is the last day, New Year's Eve, and you have a pretty cool year next year. Until then, and until next time for the next reaction, which will come probably in a week's time or a bit more, have fun and enjoy yourself. Bye bye and Happy New Year.